You, who are less than a housekeeper who can only clean, are not worthy of being in this house, and what on earth are you thinking about spending your son's hard-earned salary as you please? This person doesn't know anything. My husband spends all his small salary on play, and now it is my salary that supports the house. But that's okay. Even if you find out who I am now, it's too late. I can't take it anymore. Get out of here. Decluttering is very important. Huh? What the hell? My mother-in-law reacts to the sound from the TV. What do you mean? Cramming things out of sight, such as drawers and closets, is not organizing. She alternately saw between me smiling on the LCD screen and me in front of her. I'm good at cleaning, and I'm a bit of a great person in that regard. From now on, I'm going to start decluttering the things I don't need the most. My name is Cora. I work as a tidying coordinator. A tidying coordinator is a job that gives advice to people who have problems such as not being able to throw things away. We provide guidance to individuals such as those who live alone, those who work together and do not have time to tidy up their rooms, and those who are in self-neglect, and there are also requests from large companies that want to keep their offices and warehouses clean. I often receive letters of gratitude and emails from clients who have given me advice at a later date, and I am proud of my work and it has been rewarding. However, my personal life was not very good. I am married and have one daughter. Currently, live with her husband, daughter, and mother-in-law. This husband and mother-in-law were troublesome anyway. My husband, Stanley, goes out in the morning for the casino on holidays and is rarely at home. He works for a good standing company, but in reality, he seems to be content with it and has a bad work attitude, and he spends his time at his desk looking at the internet. I can't help but wonder why he's not fired yet, but it seems that the reason is that it is difficult to dismiss employees these days, and the salary is originally a piece rate system and not a fixed salary. As a result, his monthly income is only $700, which is the minimum, and it seems that he has the mercy of his boss. He doesn't use a single penny of his small salary for us, and he seems to spend it all on his own pocket money. On top of that, there are passages where he feels annoyed for me, who earns more than him, so he is hopelessly pathetic. However, there is a presence in this house that makes such a husband seem better. It's my mother-in-law. The mother-in-law does not know about her son's work attitude and income, and thinks that the household budget is all made up of her husband's earnings. It was all because Stanley's vain attempts to pass off my income as his income and telling my mother-in-law about it. As a matter of fact, I am the one who covers the living expenses of the family. It seems that there are quite a lot of people who are worried about tidying up the work of a tidying coordinator, perhaps because of the negative effects of the consumer society, and there is no shortage of requests. Therefore, the average monthly income is about $4,000, and when there is a request from a company, it may be more. I pay for food, rent, utilities, my children's school needs, clothes, and all the other things. Despite this, my mother-in-law makes fun of me as just a housekeeper who can only clean and tidy up. I explained my job several times to her, but it didn't correct her misconception that I was a housekeeper specializing in cleaning, and I told Stanley the truth, but he didn't seem to believe me at all. On the contrary, Stanley's failure to retract the lie made his mom bully his wife, and I had stopped talking back. And to make matters worse, she's not only bullying me, but also tells my acquaintances and neighbors that there is no such thing as my daughter-in-law is a clean freak, so I feel sorry for my son and granddaughter. Sure, I like to be organized, and my room is tidy. I might be much tidier than the average family, but I'm not a clean freak. I can also teach my daughter how to organize useful tricks so that she can enjoy tidying up. There were times when I thought about divorcing such a husband. However, no matter how bad her husband is, he is the father of her daughter, and although he is not good as a husband, he also has a kind side to his children. Above all, I didn't want this child, who was still in elementary school, to experience the divorce of his parents. It was a day off. My husband went to the casino in the morning as usual, and my mother-in-law also went out before noon, saying that she would have tea with her friends. At that time, I was told, "I've told my son about it, so give me the money for tea," and asked for $100. I was a little annoyed that the tea was so expensive, but I gave it to her quietly. It was my birthday and I had plans. I wanted to reward myself in some way, but I didn't have anything in particular. However, I didn't want the day to end like any other day, and my daughter invited me to a movie I wanted to watch. My husband was full of casinos on holidays, so I thought that I hadn't been able to go out with my daughter for a while, so I reflected a little. And I decided to enjoy the whole day by doing various things with my daughter. Recently, I had a good job offer, so I splurged on that day. I bought clothes for my daughter, who was at an age where she wanted to grow up, and I also bought clothes from slightly more expensive brands that I wouldn't normally wear. After that, we had a light lunch, went out for sweets, and went to the movies my daughter wanted to see. In the evening, we went to eat a steak that my daughter had never seen before, and she was very happy with the deliciousness that she had never eaten before. Wow, the meat melts in my mouth. Is this really meat? To my daughter, who genuinely asks me about such things, I reply with a smile, "That's right." We talked about the movie we saw today or about school. I also asked her if she had a particular favorite boy. I don't really like the boys in my class because they're kind of childish. Inwardly, I thought to myself, "You're still a child," but when I saw my daughter chewing on a steak while talking happily, I was glad that I brought her here. The sight of my daughter happy was the best reward for me. On the way home while I was thinking about this, my daughter handed me a cute little paper bag. "Mom, it's your birthday today, isn't it? You can use this to tie your hair when you are cleaning up." There were several types of pins in the bag. I was so happy that I almost cried. I immediately took one out, put it on my head, and asked my daughter, "Do I look good?" My daughter said, "Yes." I was so happy that I left it on and headed home. The outing with my daughter was a real pleasure. However, what was waiting for me at home was my mother-in-law with wrinkles between her brows. As soon as she saw me coming back, she yelled at me, "If you think you're going to be late coming home, what the hell are you going to do without even preparing dinner for us?" True, I didn't prepare dinner today. But instead today I put a memo on my desk, "I'm going out with my daughter, I'll leave the money for dinner." I left a note and left $100 for food. There are plenty of convenience stores and restaurants in the neighborhood. In addition, it is an area where there is an abundance of food delivery and delivery. Above all, it seemed that he was spending $100 and ate something. The desk is littered with the remains of a container that was not there in the morning, which would have been a container of sushi. It seems that my mother-in-law and husband used the money to take delivery of high-end sushi in the neighborhood. Do I have to get yelled at by them for not cooking a meal for just one day a year, even though I do everything from housework to work every day? While thinking so, my daughter looked anxious, so I apologized, "I'm sorry," to make it easier. However, perhaps she still doesn't feel like it's enough, she continued. "What the hell are you thinking about spending my son's hard-earned salary as you please?" When I was wondering if she still believed in my husband's lies, I was surprised. "There's not a penny of money to spend on someone like you who can only clean up, good for nothing. You look like you've bought some fancy brand name clothes, but all you're wearing is that tacky pin clip on your head that fits you. Why don't you return them all? That one word was almost unbearable. It was bought by a child with pocket money, and it may be cheap. But that's not the problem. It's important that she remembered my birthday and celebrated it in her own way. Besides, who is it that allows us to eat in the first place? I thought about yelling back. However, I see my daughter's crying face. It's okay, I said, hugging my daughter. My mother-in-law says, "Oh come on," and goes back to her room. I looked behind her and sent a glance to my husband as if to do something about it. Then, my husband opened his mouth as if he was disappointed. Well, my mom has more life experience, and I'm not saying the right thing. It's your fault for the way you are. I was disappointed in my husband a long time ago. So, no matter what I was told until now, I kept it in the back of my mind and suppressed that feeling. Packing things out of sight, such as drawers and closets, is not decluttering. It was a phrase I often say to my customers. In the end, it will overflow at some point. I'll show you the seriousness of the tidying coordinator. Since that day, every time my mother-in-law sees me, she curses, "When are you leaving?" I don't know where it was, because somebody, somewhere, is going to put everything away. While making accusations, she messed up closets and sheds as if she is showing me. I'm also me, and I don't organize as carefully as I used to. Regardless of such things, my mother-in-law does not throw away bags of sweets and packaging of daily necessities, even though there is a trash can nearby, and leaves the mailed mail appropriately. Because of this, I don't know where to find utility bills and other bills. At lunchtime, I carry the pasta to the living room. My mother-in-law and husband were waiting for lunch while watching TV there. It was a holiday, but I told my husband not to go out today because I had a story to tell him about my daughter. Also, the daughter is being taken care of by my sister. There was a noon information program on the TV. After the commercial, we will introduce you to a hot consulting company. My husband complains, "Oh pasta." When my mother-in-law heard these words, she put down her fork and said to me, "Hey, don't cut corners just because it's lunch, make something more decent. Don't you think Stanley is a pity?" Enough is enough, get out of the housekeeper who can only do cleaning. Get out is my mother-in-law's habit now. Normally, I would apologize appropriately and let it flow, but today was different. I take something out of my bag. Divorce papers. Are you sure? I asked as if it was a final confirmation, and slammed the divorce papers in a position where my husband and mother-in-law could see. My mother-in-law looked a little surprised, but in an instant, it changed to a happy expression. My husband was confused, but my mother-in-law didn't care about that and urged me to fill it out. I put a ballpoint pen in front of my husband. The mother-in-law makes my husband hold it. My husband begins to fill it in as if to just accept it. It was when he had just finished signing. A familiar voice comes from the TV. "Nice to meet you, my name is Cora Case, and I'm a tidying coordinator." My husband and mother-in-law look at the TV in surprise. On TV, I'm talking about tips for decluttering and decluttering. The trick to decluttering is to throw away things that you're not sure whether to throw away or not, because when you're on the fence, it's almost always something you don't need in the end. And after my interview, there was an advertisement for a book that summarizes those tidying and decluttering techniques. The names of the authors of the book include the names of several tidying coordinators, including me. This was a good request. Originally, I worked shorter hours to raise my children. Despite this, he was recognized by the company for making a profit that allowed him to earn an average of $400, and he was promoted to a position of responsibility among the cleanup coordinators. At that time, a publisher asked the company to write a book, and I became involved as a key member. This led to an appearance on an information program that is currently being broadcast. It seems that this book is an unusually big hit for a cleaning-related book. The announcer of the information program loudly announces the number of units sold. And also, it was even broadcast that the author would receive a large royalty. My husband and mother-in-law, who were watching it, couldn't close their open mouths. Then they looked at the divorce papers in their hands. I haven't told my husband and mother-in-law about promotions, publishing books, or appearing on TV, of course. If I had told her that, I would have been reluctant to fill out the divorce papers. I immediately collect the completed divorce papers. My husband, who understood my intentions, was distraught but spoke out. It's different, it's like my mom forced me to write it, it's not my true intention anyway, I'm really sorry that my mom said something strange. And he sincerely apologized to me. My mother-in-law, who saw it, also showed me a smile that I had never shown before and talked to me in a cat-stroking voice. Oh, yes. I'm sorry for saying something weird, I'm kidding, don't take it seriously. From now on, Cora's royalties will allow her to indulge in extravagance. Look, I'm going to throw away those divorce papers. My mother-in-law continues to make excuses, but it doesn't make sense. Look, let's go on a trip with the whole family with that money. We can deepen our bond. I was disappointed, but I carefully folded the divorce papers and put them in my bag. And with it, stand up and tell them. After all, you two only see money, not me. Didn't you notice that little by little my and my daughter's belongings were missing from the house? The husband and mother-in-law look at each other stunned. Well, I can't help it, my mother-in-law blindly makes a mess for me, so I was able to pack my things easily. In fact, I explained the situation to the company, asked a couple of tidying coordinators to be dispatched when my husband and mother-in-law were not around, and planned to move the luggage little by little so that they would not be discovered. In some cases, dummy luggage was also prepared, and it was packed with the dexterity of a professional. I told them again of my intention to divorce. It's a lifetime of failure for me, as a decluttering professional, to not notice the most unnecessary things. From now on, I will also declutter our relationships. You can contact them through your lawyer. At the entrance, my sister, who I had contacted in advance, came to pick me up with my daughter. She ran up to me without even looking at her father or grandmother. I held her hand and left my home. Later. From the day I left home, I had been hearing from my ex-husband and his mother frequently. All of them were remorseful, but essentially they were begging about taking care of them. I've never felt so pathetic before, and my mom and I cry every day. I don't know how to tidy up my room without you. I won't complain about pasta, so I want you to come and make rice. What do you mean if you don't pay any money and don't come to do housework, you're disqualified as a daughter-in-law? I honestly thought you deserve it. However, they are not obligated to respond to communications that are not through a lawyer, so they ignore all of them. The owner of that house and utility bills was all my husband. When we got married, he told me that I, the head of the family, should be the holder, but he only paid me for the first few months, and after that, everything was debited from my account. However, thanks to this, it was easy to change the payment method. I changed from direct debit to having a transfer form mailed to my home, and I don't know where the transfer form went in that messy room. After all, no utility bills have been paid for several months. I consulted with a lawyer and paid at least 3 months' rent in advance, but I don't know what happened after that. In the 5 days since I left, I have had a lot of emotionally unstable contacts, such as snobbery, anger, and sympathy, but since I received the call that the electricity and gas have been cut off, I have changed my mobile phone number and have refused to contact me at all. At the point when you wonder whether to throw it away, it is not important. I didn't even know what I had thrown away. You never want to throw it away, keep only the things that are important. That's the trick to decluttering. After that, my daughter and I lived happy days together.